ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ji ki fateh. Welcome to this segment of Code Gurbani's a-sabad-a-day. The reflection is Surat Mahalla Panjama, composition of the fifth Nanak Gur Arjan in the Rag Surat. And this sabad, you will find, is a piercing lyrical meditation on the impermanence of embodied life, the illusion of attachment, and the possibility of awakening. So let's reflect on this line by line here. Surat Mahalla Panjama, Putr Kalatr Lok Grah Banta Maya San Bandehi. So Putr Kalatr Lok Grah Banta, sons, family, wife, homes, Maya Sanbandehi. These are all ties of illusion. So this is a critique of false relational identity, if you will. The ego. If you notice in the previous Shabad, we talked about opposites. The mind conflicted. This continues that by showing us how the ego, how man, defines itself through roles and relationships. It thinks, I am father, husband, householder. But all of this is contextual, it is impermanent, and externally constructed. That's what we have to remember. And it is all fleeting. Ant ki baar ko khara na hosi, sab mithya asnehi. Ant ki baar. So at death, none of these relationships, these bonds, will hold true. Khara na hosi. What he's saying is, they're all counterfeit. They're not real, meaning they're not permanent. Ultimately, all these affections are false. Saba mithya asanehi. Mithya is what has been manufactured, constructed. So this world of relationships that we live in is a construction. By that I mean a fabrication of the mind. So the moment of death is the test of reality. What cannot withstand death is not truly yours. These so-called affinities are seen as projections. They are not essential being. You see the difference? And therefore the call, Re Nar. Nar signifies human. So it's a call to all of us. Kahe paporo dehi. Why are you fostering or pampering? Dehi is the one that sits within the dehi, the body. This is a challenge. Why this investment in the perishable? The ego adorns the body thinking it's me. But this identity is fragile. It's a mask that fades like smoke. So the question is, Re Nar Kahe Paporo Dehi. Why are you doing this? Ud jayego doom badro ek bajo ram snehi ud jayego. It'll rise like smoke, doom badro. It will vanish. So why would you pamper and invest? Now that doesn't mean you have to neglect the body. You have to make a careful distinction. The body is where the being is as well. It houses two conflicting opposites. So you can't neglect the body, but you have to realize that the ego is hanging on to something that is very fragile. The ego itself is fragile. उड़ जाएगो धूम बादरो एक बाजो राम सनेही. So, cling to the one Ram, the all-pervading self. So this is an image of impermanence. The body is ephemeral vapor. The only thing worth clinging to is the one who abides. Not an object, but the ground of being. तीन संज्ञा कर देही कीनी जल कूकर pasmehi. Three elements constitute the body: water, flesh, and ash. So this is a deconstruction of our embodiment. It is a composite. It is not a self. It is not complete in itself. That's the point. Hoye amro grah mein baitha, karan karana bisarohi. So, grah mein baitha. Though mortal, we sit in the house of the immortal and we forget bisaro, karan bisarohi. We are forgetful. You remember the previous sabad talked about the mind being achet, forgetful. So this is existential forgetfulness, not not like forgetting where you put your keys. This is existential forgetfulness. This is our natural state. So we forget. We take immortality for granted, forgetting the source. Anek bhant kar maniye saje kache tag parohi. So kache tage, time, ego, circumstance, it represents these things. Everything we build is strung on impermanence. Anek bhant kar maniye saje kache tag. Kache is not a strong thread, meaning kacha is not fully baked. It's impermanent meaning here. Toot jayego soot baparo phir pache pachatohi. Toot jayego, it'll break and you will regret. So you cannot postpone your awakening. When the thread breaks, meaning death, what you cling to collapses. So turn to the real. Jin tum sirje sirj savare tisate avo din rehne hi. So contemplate the one who is the source, who has created and adorned you. Sirjo, day and night. So this is a recollection. This is a call to shift one's attention from what is false and contingent to the Creator, not simply as a theological belief, but as the fundamental consciousness behind all forms. So this is reality. It's not something that you just carry around in your head as a belief. Far from it. Jana Nanak Prabh Kirpa Thari, main Satgur ot gayi. So therefore, Nanak declares that he's taken refuge in the Satgur. Without that Satgur, the enlightener, nothing is possible. Again, the Satgur is not simply an institutional Satgur, but this also means existential surrender. So what we see here is the impermanence of egoic attachments, haume, creating this false selfhood through roles and social identity, the pampering of the body in the pursuit of pleasure, and forgetfulness, existential forgetfulness, and then the thread that breaks, time, fragility, everything collapses. Remembrance is a return to the self. to that wholeness. And grace is through the Satguru, because the ego cannot redeem itself. It must surrender. It must surrender. So there is some sobering clarity in this Shabd. There is redemption. We have to recognize that you're not the body, you're not these roles, you're not all these ornaments in life. You are a consciousness called to awaken, not through self-effort necessarily, but through turning, through remembering and falling into grace. You're not being asked to negate the world or hate the world, but you're being asked to stop mistaking it for the real. You're not being asked to renounce, but to recognize, realize. When you do that, what was heavy becomes light. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.